All right. Good morning, everyone. This is Kai Deering with On the Fly with Kai. Today is Thursday, Earth Day, actually, April 22nd, 2021. This is season 2, episode 18. And I'm jazzed today to be able to bring to you to the show a woman who I actually ran into randomly in virtual networking, and I realized that, you looked really familiar. We actually met probably 10 or 15 years ago, networking when she was down south in San Jose near me. And I took a one-page business plan workshop from her. And I got to tell you, I've done a few of these things before, but the way she explained it brought huge clarity and a lot of energy to my 2021. And I've been kind of revisiting it ever since. And I really feel like she rocks the world for entrepreneurs. She's got a really successful track record. In fact, she's been an entrepreneur since the age of 23, and I'm going to talk to her about that. And she actually, including a multi-million-dollar company that she sold in 2004. And now I just love that she has a heart for helping small businesses really, identify what their issues are and become more successful and profitable. She really focuses on women entrepreneurs, which I appreciate, and wants them to elevate to that seven-figure. I'm down, woman. I want to go to seven figures. So please help me welcome to the show. I'm Cynthia Riggs. Yay. Woo. So glad you're here.
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm jazzed because I love entrepreneurialism, and this has been pretty much your whole life. And I just would love to know, because there's always been this age-old thing, are leaders born, or are they created? Are entrepreneurs born, or are they created? And to start at such a young age, at 23, and not just like with a lemonade stand, you know what I mean? Like a real business, just speaks volumes to that. And so, did you grow up in a family of entrepreneurialism? Did you learn it on your own? Tell us how you just got started on that in such a young age. That's so exciting.
Sure. Well, it actually started long before I was 23, because I think I had that bent somewhere in my personality. Nobody in my family was entrepreneurial per se. But, I remember when I was in maybe junior high, maybe even high school, back the days when macrame was really popular. I used to sell all kinds of, roach clips and bracelets to the local head shop, so I've sort of been doing my thing for a really long time, because I always like to make money, and I always like to figure out a way to make money. I did not ever imagine myself to be an entrepreneur. So I want to also say that I went to college to be a therapist. That was what I was doing. I graduated from college, and I am I'm an accidental entrepreneur. My first entrepreneurial effort turned into a business, like unexpectedly, right? There was no intention. It was just like I needed to make money. I needed to survive. So I started doing my thing back then, which was it's a long story, but the short version of it is that I sold at a flea market. And back in the day, this is the 70s, I sold, antiques, collectibles, and I built a really successful business, which I turned into a brick and mortar business, because one of my smart friends said, you got the knack, you got the thing, like just get a store. You don't need to keep doing this hauling crap to the flea market every weekend, right? So that was my first brick and mortar business. And, how did this happen? It happened because I have some basic skills, which I would not even tell you I knew I had, financial skills and understanding of, profit and expenses. And I was able to learn. And, the one important thing I forgot is that when I was in college, I worked at a women's bookstore, and we were a collective. And that's really where I learned how to, do a receipt, and how to keep books, and how to manage all the parts and parcels that you have, inventory, purchasing, selling. And that was really sort of an underlying skill that I gained that transferred very nicely when I actually opened my own first business. To your question, I went back and forth with one of my college professors later on when I got into business educational stuff. I was doing some teaching and whatnot. And he adamantly said, "You are not an entrepreneur." And I said, "Well, how can that be?" And he says, "Well, entrepreneurs risk everything. They put everything on the line. A true entrepreneur just knows that they have to bring whatever it is to market with no head. They just have to sacrifice everything." And I said, "Well, okay, whatever, not me." But what I did figure out along the way is that I'm what's called a lifestyle entrepreneur. And I bet many of you are as well, whereas we make a conscious decision. It's not so much that it's not really so much about the future. It's about the present. It's about how can we connect our passion to a revenue stream. And that's what I think being a lifestyle entrepreneur is all about. So, yeah.
Okay, so I'm totally putting that in the chat because that is really cool. I have never heard that before, and I agree with you. Most times they take their passion, whether it's cooking something or, coaching people on the side, and then just be like, okay, that's really, really neat. So you actually, I love that too. And you actually ended up selling a business in 2004, like we said, for $1 million. What was that business? I'm dying to know. I'd love to know what that was.
Yeah, I'm happy to tell you. It's a business called Making It Big. And I manufactured natural fiber clothing for plus size women. And again, my trajectory is connecting passion to a revenue stream. That's what I've been very successful at my whole life. And I had a couple of friends back in the day who were very large women. And that was when all you could get is Lane Bryant muumuus, right? And because I was in my brick and mortar business, I sold antique clothing and collectibles. That's what I did. And I was a scavenger. I was always running around buying stuff, and I could never find anything for these two particular friends. So I decided that, somebody in the world must be making clothes for big women. And these are what we might call supersized women, as opposed to just your average plus size women. And for 2 years, I researched it, and there was nobody doing this anywhere. So I took it upon myself that was what I had to do. So I became a clothing manufacturer. I had a mail order company. I was a direct to consumer business. And we're going to say the timing was right because the business grew hand over fist so quickly that we were just doing everything. Well, I was doing everything I could to keep up with it. But it was growing, it was just growing very quickly. And I did it for 20 years. And then I sold it, and it's still the name has been changed, but it's still the woman who bought it from me is still doing it. But we were a made in America company. I had 25. I had a whole network of seamstresses in my community that I supported, and my values were very attached to the kind of clothing I made. And it was a life-changing business because if you think about anybody that you might know in your life that has obstacles because of how big they are, their size, they couldn't find clothes back then. They couldn't go on job interviews. They couldn't women didn't leave their house. We used to get these testimonials about, for the first time in my life, I feel like everybody else. I feel like I can go out in public and look good. And, I get chills when I say that, but it was a really, it was an important step in my life.
Yeah, I completely agree. And if you find a hole and fill it and you've got passion behind it, you can be very, very successful. I don't think that there's any apologies that you need to make for making a lot of money if you're helping people, right? And I think there is some of that, making money's bad. There's all this weird stuff that we have about money. But if you're filling a hole, helping people and empowering folks, whether it's with clothing or whether it's with, legal or whatever, I think that it's okay. Wouldn't you agree to make money? Because I know now you've taken those skills and help people kind of go to the next level from whether it's a mastermind group or it's the one page business plan. I'm curious though. So you do this 20-year business. Now you have so many skills that you can actually share with the world. Is that kind of what brought you into this sort of consulting and coaching and all that side of your now what your passion is?
Well, again, when I sold the company, I knew what I wanted to do, and it was really about helping women build successful, sustainable, and profitable businesses. Because, I didn't set out to grow a huge company. And in the spectrum of things, it's not even that huge, but for me, it was pretty huge. It evolved. It wasn't like I opened my door saying, okay, this is my intention, this is what I plan to do, this is what I'm going to do, and here we go. It was like, oh, this business had a life of its own that took me on the ride. So when I hung out that consulting shingle, what I recognized is, God, if I had a planning tool, wouldn't have that been awesome? This whole flying by the seat of my pants, I'm obviously really good at it. And, really, should I complain? Maybe not. but I recognized that there must be a planning tool. There must be something out there because, the only business plans that I ever wrote were to get money. And then as soon as you got the money, it went back in the drawer. And then when you needed more money, you pulled it out, you updated the cash flow projections, you got more money, it went back in the drawer. That was my whole relationship to business planning. So when I hung out that consulting shingle, I started actively looking for some kind of business planning tool that was really more hands-on, more action plan oriented rather than whatever you want to call it, a traditional business plan. And it took me a couple years. I mean, I went through a lot of business plans, and they're mostly just business plans. They didn't really have that component. And then I found Jim Horan and the one-page business plan. And really, I thought I had died and gone to heaven. It was like exactly, I took to it like a duck to water. It was exactly what I wanted, and yeah, so I'll leave it at that. You can go on to your next question.
No, and actually, I'm going to talk to you about what that looks like, because yes, I'm old school too. So, when we did a business plan, like you said, it was more financially related. It wasn't heart connected and centered. It certainly was more than a page, right? So, he really did revolutionize. And I took one of his, one-page business plans, I want to say like 15 years ago. And, yeah. And I thought it was awesome. And now that he's got other people being able to do that, and I think you bring a unique spin to, women in business when you do it. And when I took it from you, you asked some really great questions that made me think about, what is it really, the legacy, not just, how does it look good on a piece of paper to get some money, but what is the legacy you want to leave? What is the impact you have on the world? And so what are some great, maybe thought-provoking questions if someone's like looking at starting a business? What are a few questions they could look at to start them on a path of that one-page business plan? Because you asked amazing questions on that. That was neat.
Well, I think whether you're a startup or an established business, the place you start is, well, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or what do you want to be when you go to the next level? Because we stew a lot in the pot of now, and that's not really helpful when you're growing a business. Because again, I had the fortunate situation where my business had such a life of its own that I was on the ride with it. I was not driving the car. I'm going to tell you, I was doing my best to keep up. But most of us, that's not what we're up to, right? And so if you can expand out of today and think out 2 years, 3 years to what you want your business to be, and it could not even look anything like what you're doing right now. It's really helpful to paint that picture for yourself, because then you're setting a direction. When you're in the stew, when you're in the pot, when you're doing the cycling around and in the same old, every day, it's really hard for us to get out of our own way and contemplate what is possible for ourselves. And one of the biggest problems, I'm going to call it a problem, that most of us have, women, men, whoever, is we have a very challenging time getting out of the trenches of the doing what we do to the actual working on the business, to setting the stage, to creating the picture, to having a clear roadmap of where it is we want to go. So what I like to encourage is the possibility that, getting it out of your head onto a piece of paper is going to provide you with a very valuable tool.
Yeah. And I was taking notes when you were talking. It's sort of like, slow down to speed up. And sometimes we just mentioned at the beginning of this how busy everybody is, especially now with there's so much communication coming at us everywhere. Sometimes we just have to turn everything off, sit down, and take heed of what it is that we really are trying to create, as opposed to, like said, that was awesome. Like, instead of it steering you and taking you for the ride. So if somebody were going to do, I put his Jim Horan one-page business plan in the chat too, so people will have that kind of as an archive. What's the biggest mistake that you see, entrepreneurs and small business owners making, because you're the big picture woman. So we're working in our business. You're trying to help us work on our business, right? So what's one of the biggest mistakes that you see after all these years and all these masterminds that business owners are making with regards either to a woman's business plan or just in general?
Well, again, I think it goes back to what I just said, is that when you can't get your head up above the clouds, it's very limiting. It's very difficult to grow, to expand, to really become the business person or have the business that you want. So I think that that's probably one of the most things. And then, I'm big on the whole financial picture, and I think another place where a lot of people are very lax is really understanding the cause and effect of money when it comes to your business, right? We live in a fantasy about, I mean, I'll just, it looks something like, oh, I'm making money, everything's fine, but I've accrued $20,000 or $30,000 in credit card debt because I haven't been making enough money to support myself, but my credit cards have been supporting me. But there's no conscious connection to that's what I've been doing. It's that head in the sand kind of thing. The not taking care of your financial house is probably one of the most fallible things that we can do. I think that if you do nothing else, get that piece cleaned up, cleared up, get some basic understanding of what it's all about. And don't wait till you do your taxes to decide how your business is doing. Paying taxes is a personal responsibility. Truthfully, it has nothing to do with your business, except for your business made you money instead of getting a W-2 or, from an employer, right? We have a responsibility to our business to actually take care of it, and that's one of the things I talk about a lot is that you are not your business. Even if you're a solopreneur, your business has a life of its own and it deserves to be respected, nurtured, and given what it needs to grow. And a lot of times we are the biggest hindrance on our business.
Yeah, I think John C. Maxwell says we're the lid, right? So yeah, I completely agree. And I took a couple notes here too that, I've been guilty of falling into that trap, especially early in my business. And then just recently, I have a financial mentor, who, is a 7-figure kind of guy. And he said, listen, I'm going to challenge you to do your own bookkeeping for 1 year. So you know where that money goes. And it was hugely eye-opening. I've always kind of passed it on to a bookkeeper. So yeah, I mean, knowing where your money goes is very valuable. So you can make better decisions. Now, everybody who's an entrepreneur, I think the first book most people read is Think and Grow Rich. And I love it. Like Zig Ziglar says, he reads it was saying he read it every single month and every single, I've read it dozens of times a year. It's a great book. But in there, he talks about the power of the mastermind and how 2 minds make a third more powerful mind. And I've always wanted to put together a mastermind with, maybe some people I work with, or we're doing one sort of now for social media, and it always makes sense to me, but there seems like I'm missing the mark on the structure of it and how it works. And you run very successful masterminds. They pay you big bucks to have access to this, whether it's 5 figures masterminds, 6-figure masterminds, or 7-figure masterminds that you run. Maybe help out somebody who's not quite there yet, but maybe they've got some budding entrepreneurs, or maybe there's something that they'd like to mastermind on. What's the structure of a mastermind and how do you actually put one together? It's so nebulous. I would love a little assistance on that just personally.
Sure. Well, along with the 1-page business plan, when I hung out that consulting shingle, I didn't call them masterminds back then, but I also knew very intuitively and clearly that I needed to get women together to talk about their business. I don't know how or why, but I did. Okay. So then you fast forward. Well, actually, I do know why. I know because I was very lonely in my company. That's really why. I had no peers. Everybody was either much bigger than me or much smaller than me. I just didn't have people to talk to. And your friends and family get sort of sick of hearing about your business because it's not really their thing and they don't really feel like they can help you. So I believe that that what I wanted to create was it's a brain trust, really, and it goes along with what you were saying is that 2 brains make a third, So if you think about it, we all only know what we know, and that is true. And it's not that what we know isn't brilliant, because a lot of times we are freaking brilliant. We are experts at what we do. But what I recognize is that I only know what I know, and in that regard, I have to reach out to other people. And I'm going to tell you that I believe that and my financial acumen were the reasons I was successful in building a multi-million-dollar company, because I reached out to a lot of people. I mean, look, I'm in an industry I know nothing about. Making clothes, sewing clothes. Really interesting, huh? But I knew that other people had these skills, and so I found them. And I've never had any trouble handing off and getting support for filling in those gaps. So I also support you. You don't have to do it yourself. That's just an important piece of information, which you've probably heard a bazillion times before, but it's really true. Going it alone is not really, it's not really a status symbol. You don't have to be everything to everybody. You can get from other people and other places. So back to the mastermind concept, I bring together a maximum of 6 women at a time. We meet monthly or twice a month. Different groups are different. And how it works is that I'm the facilitator. That's my role. And each person has what I call spotlight time. So you get to come into the space. There's a whole process to it, which I'm not going to have time to go into, but everybody gets the spotlight time, and you come with an issue, a problem, a situation that you want to talk about, and you want to brain trust. You want to bring it to the group. And in theory, how it works is that the group provides you with feedback, asks questions, helps you get to the bottom of it, helps you come to a conclusion, helps you figure it out. It's different. It can be as simple as people bringing their marketing material for us to review. It's not always heavy, high hitting, oh my gosh, I have this employee who I just want to kill. What do I do? There's some of that, but it can be, how do I get speaking engagements, or where do I go to do this? So it can be on all different levels of, what one needs. There's no structure to the context. It's like, there's no rules about it can only be in this frame or that frame. It can be whatever is going on for you. And then, what else was I saying? And we always start with wins. Like everybody starts their spotlight with what's gone really well for them since our last meeting. And then it ends with, what do you want to be accountable for between now and the next meeting? And then I encourage people to make connections and be accountability partners in between. I encourage to be more of an ongoing relationship, more than just, our meetings. Yeah. So that in general is it. And, I have people who've been in my mastermind 10 years, 8 years, 6 years. Some people cycle in and out, but especially people who have larger businesses, they feel sort of the way I felt when I had my company, which is there's no place else that you get this level of support. One of my 7-figure groups, beginning of the year, we reviewed everybody's financials. When it went after year end, and so it was full disclosure, but people learned a lot about how they could do things different in their business. People could support each other if something wasn't right. It was a very high level group. That's another way that it can go. So it just depends on the mix of people, right? That's who makes the group. I'm the facilitator, and I do have my input because I like to share my information, and I have a lot of it. But my job, truthfully, is to encourage the group to be engaged much more than Cynthia being engaged, right?
Agreed. And I think, experience is the roughest teacher, right? And so if you can learn from other people's mistakes, and the group coaching thing is a huge piece there. And it's almost like, as an entrepreneur, sometimes we have scotoma, right? Like, we can't see the peripheral sides of what's happening, either in our business or in our personal lives, without somebody helping shine a light over there, right? So I think that's huge. And that's something that's missing a lot. I think you're very lonely as an entrepreneur, unless you're in a network marketing business where there's a lot of people that are working with you and doing things like that. If you were to, like women, especially because that's one of your focuses, I feel like a lot of times they're not dreaming big enough. There's, like we talked about, the lid. What are some things that people can do to put on their dreaming cap, if you will, to help, lift the lid on that, help see what's possible for them? Because I see that a lot in women entrepreneurs. They think small as opposed to thinking big. And I know you think big, right? So you think all the women with entrepreneurs, 7 figures. What's some coaching or some help that you can give them? Is there a book? Is there a thing that we can help them to turn their mindset into thinking a little bit bigger?
Well, I think we've actually already covered that, and it really goes to creating your vision. And it's not easy for most people to do. For us to project into what doesn't yet exist is very challenging. Most of us are sort of stuck in where we are. And so my encouragement is to really allow and give yourself permission to think about what's possible. And that's where that dreaming, I'm a very pragmatic person, so I don't enjoy people coming up with visions that are totally ridiculous or never going to happen. I don't support that. But I agree with you that there's a way to stretch yourself out of what you know. See, it comes down to, we only know what we know. Well, but if you got help and you got support and you were able to enhance what you know with what other people know, like what would happen? What could be possible for you? I think, again, the Lone Ranger thing or the doing it all ourselves thing is just dangerous, and it's not an expansive way to build a business. It's really get support. Like, networking offers one form of support. Coaching offers a form of support. Consulting offers support. Masterminds, group process is a really more affordable and excellent way of really engaging. And, part of my secret sauce is that I create a really safe and I don't know what the other word is, a container where women are just amazed and surprised that they're so willing to let their hair down. Because, like, when you're in a networking situation, you show your bright, shiny self, right? And when if that's the only way you're showing up, it might not be true to how you're really feeling inside or what's really going on. Because, when you start talking with women, you find out there's a lot of challenges, personal challenges, professional challenges. So having an opportunity to share what is real really enhances your ability to move forward. Like, I think that if you don't give that to yourself, you end up being sort of stuck in that stew I was talking about.
Yeah, and if you go Lone Ranger route, you can probably build it faster, but you can't build it big. It's like, that's it. So
well, yeah, you'll hit you'll hit that wall sooner, because again, you only know what you know, and that's something that for some reason we have a tremendous amount of resistance to.
Yeah, and Jeannie says the same thing. She's had a lot of success in Mastermind. She's been in business a long time, helping folks in careers. So if people wanted to engage with you more, maybe they wanted to conduct a one-page, business plan for one of their, associations or groups, because you're a great speaker. Maybe they want to hire you as a speaker. Maybe they want to hire you to come in and help them, figure out, maybe do a little consulting, figure out what's going on in their businesses, or find out more about your masterminds. How would they engage with you, Cynthia?
The best thing is to go to my website, which is bizdiva.biz. And the contact page, you can fill it out and it'll send me an email, and I'll get back to you promptly, and we can set up a complimentary conversation to get to know one another and see if there's a way that I can support you, or I know somebody else who can support you. It's not always me. I'm not always the answer to everybody's questions. But I love to meet and greet with new people, and I really do want to support you in wherever you're at to get wherever it is that you are wanting to go.
I love it. And I put that in the chat so they can engage with you. I really appreciate that. So, folks, I just want to say this is Kai on the Fly, and we bring to you tips, tricks, and hacks for the entrepreneur. And I just got to say thank you so much to Cynthia for being able to come here today and share just really from her heart. We appreciate you, and we're looking forward to seeing you again. I know I'm going to see you again at our San Jose event. Be training virtually as well. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Awesome. And thank you so much. I really appreciate being here.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you every Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and all time zones in between. Please join us. And if you like what you see, be sure to tag your friends so they can check this out. And we'll see you guys next Thursday for another great episode of On the Fly with Kai. Thank you so much. Take care. Take charge. We'll see you guys over the top. Bye-bye.